Hello and welcome to the Connect Gradebook training session, brought to you by the Center for Innovative Instruction. My name is Sarah Raymond. I'm the Online Learning Specialist, and you can email me at sraymond@trevecca.edu or give me a call at 615-248-1356. Have you ever wanted to learn how the Connect Online Gradebook can help you? Well, today I'm going to go over some basic settings about how to use the gradebook, how to create categories, tie different forums and discussions or assignments into the gradebook, how tests and quizzes are tied into the gradebook, and then using comments within the gradebook for student view. Today's quote, "Do all the good you can, by all the means you can, in all the ways you can, in all the places you can, at all the times you can, to all the people you can, as long as you ever can," by John Wesley. I feel that that quote is appropriate, especially today since we'll be helping you with setting up your gradebook. First of all, you'll need to get to the gradebook by clicking on the left-hand side in the toolbar. Click on Gradebook. And when it loads up, you'll see that I've already created some items within the gradebook just for testing purposes, but we're going to go ahead and go through some settings. The first thing we want to check is making sure that our gradebook settings are set up properly. If you double-click on Gradebook or click on Edit Gradebook Settings, it will bring up a window where there's a couple of things you need to make sure you check. The first one is we want to make sure that categories are available for us to organize with. So sometimes it defaults to no categories. We want to make sure that we click on categories. And then below that is grade using points. That's what we recommend, that you set up your gradebook using the point system. And then below that there's a couple of check marks to make sure that they're checked. You want to display to students course grades and released items. The rest of the settings you can play around with while you're setting up your gradebook to see what works for you and what doesn't. And then we'll click on Save and Close. So those are important settings within the gradebook itself. There are two tabs. One is Gradebook and the other is Attributes and Grades. If you click on Attributes and Grades, we want to make sure that 3 items are checked within the grades: the course grade, the grade override, and the letter grade. Those are what's displayed to students after you change or manipulate their grade in any way. Okay. Next, we're going to set up a category. Categories help you organize your gradebook in a way that makes sense for the student. For example, in graduate level courses, we recommend setting up your gradebook in weeks. So week 1 would include a devotional. Maybe that would be assignment number 1. Assignment number 2 would be a forum post. Assignment number 3 might be an essay. And assignment number 4 might be a weekly reflection. Those would all be within week 1. And then week 2, you would set those same assignments up but categorize them in week 2. So the student can follow along in their gradebook on how they're doing from week to week. In undergraduate level, it's a little bit different. You may want to categorize assignments, so have all quizzes together, have all essays together, have all reflections together. It really just depends on how you think it would be best and easiest for the students to see. So to set up our first category, we're going to click on File, New Category. And over here in the category window, we're going to type in January category. And then you want to make sure that that category is included in grade. And right now the category is empty, so when I click on Release Scores, it just says you cannot change the released item status at this time, and it's because this is a brand new category with nothing in it. But I'm going to hit Add and Close. And you can see over here that January category has been set up. Now that we've set up a category, we're going to need to set up an item within that category. So I'm going to click on File, New Item, and I'm going to say January Item. This is where I can tie it to a particular category. If you click on the drop-down menu, now I can see that that new category I created is right in that selection list, and I can click on January Category. You can give it a due date if you feel like, but one important selection below that is to release the scores, and that releases the scores to students. It defaults to not checked there, and so when students submit an assignment and it's tied to an item within the gradebook, they're not able to see their grade when you input their grade. So this is where you release the scores of the items within the gradebook to the student. And then of course the include in grade is already checked, and you can leave that as well. You can click Add and Close, and now you can see that my item is tied to the category. Now I can go back to category, and it already has selected release scores, since in my item I've already selected release scores. Now we're going to go over to the forums and create a forum in order to tie it to the gradebook. One important thing to remember is if you need to manually read anything in order to grade it, like discussion forums, assignments, things like that, then you have to build the item within the gradebook first, and then you can tie that item like a forum or an assignment to the gradebook. But for tests and quizzes, when you are creating the test and quiz, there is a selection where you can tie it to the gradebook from the test and quiz settings, and then it will automatically tie to the gradebook. So that's very important to remember. If there's anything you manually need to grade, you must create it within the gradebook first, and then you can tie it to the gradebook from that item. If it's going to automatically populate the score, like a test or a quiz, it will tie to the gradebook itself and automatically input a title for itself. I'll show you how that works in a minute. But first, let's go over to Forums and create a new forum. Click on New Forum, and I'm going to say January Forum. This is where you would put your forum discussion, but I'm going to scroll down here and I'm going to say in this gradebook section, gradebook item, I'm going to say January item. And see how that was already populated within that drop-down menu? It's because I created it in the gradebook first, and now I have something to tie it to. All right, and then I'm going to say Save. And you can see my forum I created here. If I click on Forum Settings, I can go ahead and input my question again or another question, but you can see that in the grading, January item is selected for Gradebook item. If I go back over to the gradebook, I can see that 100 points have been assigned to that gradebook item. And now it is tied into that forum post that I just selected. Okay? And you would do the same for assignments. But for tests and quizzes, I don't have a January test and quiz set up within this gradebook. If I were to go ahead and create a new item right now in order to create a test and quiz to tie it to the gradebook, I can't, it's going to tell me that I already have a gradebook item set up for that test and quiz. So I don't want to create it in the gradebook. I want to go over to tests and quizzes, and I'm going to create a new assessment, January test, using the assessment builder. And this is just for showing how this works. We offer another session called Tests and Quizzes that goes way more in depth on how to create quizzes. But I'm going to just do a sample question here. Who was the first president of the U.S.? And then I'm going to click Save, and it built that question for me. I'm going to go ahead and change the settings and say that that's my only question I want in this quiz. There's a section in the settings here called Grading, and in Gradebook Options it defaults to None, but what you want to do is click on Grades Sent to Gradebook. So it says selecting grades sent to Gradebook will send scores to Gradebook immediately, regardless of feedback date. And I'm going to say Save Settings and Publish. Oh, I need to say points. Save settings. Let's go back and assign some points to this question. 1 point. And now we can save settings and publish. And publish. Once we do that, we can see January test within our published copies, and we go back over to the gradebook, and you can see January test here with 1 point. The reason why it is italicized and in blue is because it is not tied to a category. If you double click on it, you can see that it's in unassigned. What you'll want to do is click on this drop-down menu and assign it to the category you need it to be in. So I'm going to say January category. Also, when you create a test and quiz, it automatically defaults to not being included in grade. So make sure you click that check mark that says Include in Grade so the students are able to view that particular test and quiz score within their overall grade. And then say Save and Close. It will pop that right back up under the January category, and now you can see my item and my test. A couple of different things about organization within the gradebook is if you're building an entire gradebook and you have a lot of quizzes and a lot of forum posts that you're grading, it's easy to just create all of the forum posts, all of the items, label them however you would like, create all your categories, and then you can drag and drop wherever you want them to be stored. So you just click with your left click and drag down to the category you want it underneath, and it'll pop it under that category. Okay, now we're going to talk about how to add comments and how to manually override grades within the gradebook. You can see I have one test student here. If you click on their name, it opens up a window to the right where it shows a more detailed view of the grades for that student. You can see their overall course grade, and then you can see their scores for each assignment that they were given. You can manually enter grades here for, because it's 80. You can manually enter grades here for any of the forum posts or anything you would like to do, but you cannot enter test grades here. If you try to enter a test grade here, it will pop up and say, the grade item is maintained externally. Please input and edit grades through tests and quizzes. So that's because you created the test and quiz and it automatically populated into the gradebook. And that's how you would like it to be. So I have my 3 grades here. This student isn't doing too well, so I want to go ahead and give them some comments and some feedback on what their scores are. So if you click on the Comments tab, you can input comments for any assignments that you would like. And then if you click on View as Student, here's what the student will see. They see their overall grade, their calculated grade, and then below that they see a window where it lists out all of their assignments and their quizzes, their scores, and then comments, this little bubble right here. If they click on that, they can see your comments within their gradebook. That is a very helpful tool to give them feedback. As soon as you grade any assignments, it's nice for them to see feedback. Thank you for joining us today. You can always email me at sraymond@trevecca.edu or give me a call at 615-248-1356. Have a great rest of your day.